Welcome to In Focus. I'm your host, Yesenia Taveras, and today I'm counting down my picks for the top 5 best shows of 2018. For this list, I'm taking a look at guests that have made a significant difference and impact in our community. These are the people who talked about the joy and the juice they received while doing what they knew they were called to do. Number 5, Jacqueline Means, the teenager who is bringing science, technology, engineering, and math to underprivileged girls in Wilmington. Let's take a look.
Only 29% of the STEM workforce is even female, and an even lower percentage is of a minority, and even lower than that is African Americans. So what I'm really trying to do is get more young girls, specifically young girls from Wilmington, because a lot of them are girls of color, letting them know that this is a career choice that you can make, because when I was younger, I know that wasn't something that was made clear for me, that this was something I could do. It was kind of, you can be a receptionist, you can be a teacher, and those are great, but sometimes girls want to go do something even more, you know?
That's
Just
right.
really letting them know that STEM is a career choice that you can make.
And through your empowerment, you created the Wilmington Urban STEM Initiative program. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what it entails?
So the Wilmington Urban STEM Initiative is a nonprofit that I created because like I said, I wasn't exposed to STEM when I was younger, and I wanted to create something of my own that, yes, this picture is actually from one of my events that I hosted, and I have 50 girls, at least 50 girls come to each event, and I have them come so they can do multiple science experiments that I hand select because there's specific ones that show just how fun STEM can be. For example, we've made slime, we've made elephant toothpaste, and we even made dry ice cream, which is ice cream made from dry ice, sugar, and a couple of other ingredients. So it makes ice cream right in front of the girls' eyes. And it shows them just how fun STEM can be, and that's really the goal, because science and math and all kinds of things can be made to seem really boring in school, and you don't want that when you're young, or else you're never gonna find your love for that. So I'm showing them how fun it can be.
I was just going to say that. So do you believe your exposure is what's going to spark the interest for these young girls?
I do. I think showing them, putting STEM in a positive light can really spark an interest. So maybe when they're older and they're picking their major for college, they can say, oh, I remember when I did that cool experiment. I want to go check out science a little more.
Number 4, Kareem Williams, an entrepreneur who turned his life around after a gun-related incident that almost took the life of his relative. Let's revisit and see what he had to say.
Well, I grew up in North Philly, and I, like a lot of kids in my community, I strayed down that wrong path of the streets, doing drugs, selling drugs, hanging out, disobeying my parents, and it ended me up at 14 years old. Before I could drive, I was charged with armed robbery, and fast forward a few years to 17, I had a gun-related incident where I was playing with a firearm and it went off and shot a family member of mine and almost took his life. So it was that situation that really hit me hard. It hit my family hard, and it let me know that I had a lot more to offer, and I didn't want to go down that path of continuing to commit crimes and hang out in the streets. So it was really that event that shifted my life in a different direction.
And what came after that event? Did you have to go to a certain juvenile detention?
I did.
How did your life unfold after that?
I had to go to Glen Mills, which is near Cheney University, another HBCU. I know you guys had a segment about HBCUs, and so I went to Glen Mills for 18 months. I could have got out of there a little bit earlier, but I was already 18 when I got there, and I didn't want to go back to high school in Philadelphia at 19 years old. Okay. So actually I was 20 by the time I got out of Glen Mills. So what I did was I was sent there where I could turn my life around. I learned a lot of things there, such as how to respect others, respect myself first and foremost. Okay. And it was there that I began to really shift my perspective on my life. I learned a lot about growth, about being a man, about being mature, about discipline. And it was there where I also received a scholarship to go to Cheney University, which is right down the street from there. So.
And that's what I like about your experience. I mean, sometimes some people frown upon when someone has a history of being a felon or some type of crime or a murder, but having gone into an institution where you're changing your life around, and during that time some people find religion, some people
Absolutely.
Educate themselves, and they empower themselves in regards to if it's reading a book or getting your education.
Right.
And their whole life changes around. And so having come through that, then you end up going and pursuing a bachelor's degree and a master's degree.
Absolutely.
And let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when I left Glen Mills, I went to Cheney University again and got a degree in business management, got a bachelor's. And afterwards, I decided to pursue a master's degree in finance, which I received in 2010. And for me, it was something that I felt that I needed to do. You know, education was always taught. My mom told me to get my education. I was one of the first people in my family to go to college. So I just didn't, growing up, I didn't have an idea about college. So I just guessed that, you know what, maybe one day I'll own a business. So I'm going to go for business management. And if I'm going to do that, I need to know finances. So that's what I went back for and got my master's in finance.
Okay, and then that's where kind of everything was birthed. You left your day job and you started thinking about your journey and how you can reach the masses here of those who can resonate with you. Let's talk a little bit about that. Like, how did it start? You just becoming a motivational speaker and really wanting to reach the young children here.
Well, for me, I always thought that I had an interesting story. I always thought that what I went through, what I put my family through, and the fact that God has allowed me to overcome that, I thought that was something that would resonate with people, because everybody goes through something. Everybody has a story. So what I did was I started putting positive videos and quotes and messages on my social media. And with that, it led to people reaching out to me. Hey, can you come speak at my event? Can you come speak at my church? Can you come speak to my kids and my 8th graders or my 12th graders or whatever? Right. So I went from there, and it started to kind of take off. And I actually realized for a long time I was told I had a gift, like my voice is powerful and I have the ability to lead. And I ran from that calling for a long time. So once people start reaching out to me to come speak, I said, you know what, I'm just give it a try. And, you know, I felt like I found my purpose once I began to do that.
Number 3, Wally Rushdan II, an attorney at law that is a current board member of the Achievers Program and the Delaware State Board of Education. Let's take a look back as he talks about his work with the youth.
I absolutely love this program, and it was a gift to me. You just said some very nice things about the things that I'm contributing to the program, but the program was really an opportunity for me to manifest some of my best assets and my best skills. The genesis of this actually goes back to my days at William Penn, where I got introduced to mentoring as an opportunity. There was a after-school program that was being launched there, and when I was in college, I was invited to come participate in that after-school program, and I knew nothing about mentoring at that time, and that exposed me to this world where, even as a young person, in my early 20s, I learned that I had something of value that I could offer to someone who was in their teenage years. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to wait to be whatever I am today, some lawyer, you know, working at a big law firm. I had experiences that I could offer and provide value. So from then on, I was hooked on mentoring. With the Achievers Program, this program had been in existence since 1987. So it had a long history that predated my involvement. And I saw this program as an opportunity for me to take some of the experiences that the program historically had and modernize it with some of the experience that I have as sort of in my generation. And the program is a 6-month self-development workshop for African American and Latino males who are in the greater Newcastle County area. We attract students from Pennsylvania. We also attract some from Maryland, but mostly it's Newcastle County centered. And it's a 6-month development workshop, as I mentioned, we call it a crash course in manhood. That prepares these young men for the things that they're going to encounter as they transition away from the safety of their home and in a nurturing sort of high school environment into that sort of more open college environment where your choices really will define who you are. There's less of a buffer between making bad choices and getting out of them.
Right.
So we put them through this workshop series that talks about everything from goal setting to essay writing to proper oratory to etiquette. You know, when you go to your first fancy dinner and you see all the cutlery, how do you know how to navigate that? We demystify those things. And we also have a career planning workshop where we talk about introducing some of these young men to mentors in their areas of interest. And at the end of this program, the culminating event is an event called the Affair of Honor.
Okay.
And it's like a debutante ball,
okay.
But for men, for young men. Okay. So they get dressed up. For a lot of these young men, it's the first time they put on a tuxedo, and it's for the full coattails, it's the full out tux. And they have attendants who have white gowns and dresses. And we formally present these young men as achievers to the broader community. And this event, it's several hundred people at this event every year. We love being able to demonstrate a different image of our young men. And we draw on every year a great amount of young men from the city of Wilmington who participate in the program. And to be able to demonstrate that image of what young men in our community are doing, I think is extremely important. And we've enjoyed great, again, support from our local elected officials, from business community leaders, because the other thing about this program is we give out scholarships.
Yes, I was going to say, I read up over $400,000 have been contributed to scholarships over the course of its existence. That is amazing.
Well, I want to amaze you even more, because we've actually, that statistic, we've doubled it. That number was on a form that I gave you that was a little dated, so I apologize. But we've in our now we're in our 31st year. Last year was our 30th year anniversary.
Okay.
We're now at over $800,000 in scholarships that we've provided to young men, and that's a function of that support I was just talking about. I mean, local businesses, community leaders, elected officials, they've seen the impact of this program. Some of them have actually came through this program. I don't want to name too many names, but people like Darius Brown, for instance, is an Achievers graduate of our program. And Donald Brown, who works with FAME, is an Achievers graduate. So we have people who are, Logan Herring from the Kingswood Community Center. These are all men who are now in positions of leading young men who have been through this Achievers program.
Like local unsung heroes.
Exactly, who are doing the work. And that's the thing about this program is, we don't do it for accolades. We do it because we know it's important and it's had an impact.
And $800,000, that's a significant impact, because for some of these kids, like you said, like you mentioned, going to Delaware Tech Community College, your finances might not be there to go to college, and now here you are with a scholarship that is going to give you that opportunity to go ahead and pursue your career path. It's
huge, and every little bit counts. I mean, we generally have between 25 to 30 young men in our program every year, and these scholarships that they receive are typically several $1,000s a piece. So it helps towards the overall process of them paying for college, and it's a huge thing. Not only are we trying to get our kids in college, but we have to keep them there.
Right.
And that's a big issue that I think continues to be in the public discourse. But everybody in the community can play a role in that. And when we have young people who have the desire and the passion to pursue their interests, money shouldn't be an issue to them being able to better themselves, because the community is going to benefit when they become better. Then they're going to be able to come back and serve the community, because they're going to be well educated and prepared to meet the challenges. So I think it's a no-brainer to invest in these young people to make them prepared.
The program's so amazing, because as you're explaining it to us, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, not a lot of men are actually looked at in that nurturer role, right? Usually women are the nurturers, but here you have men showing younger men what it looks like to be excellent, to succeed, to have a goal in mind, and this is what it looks like when you actually get to that goal.
Absolutely.
These are the steps to take. You know what? No, you can go to college, and this is what it takes, these workshops. This is what you need to learn, and then we're going to get you there. We're going to provide you with the scholarship. And then my favorite part that my colleague Saquon Simpson has actually shared so much information
to me.
The great
Saquon Simpson.
Yes, and he's actually shared with me too that he's been part of the mentoring program. But he had some significant photos and videos that he shared with us in regards to your National College Signing program. So can you share with us a ceremony? Because to me, I don't know why, I look at it, it's like, man, it reminds me of like draft, like when someone's trying to get into the NFL and then they get selected and they get chosen and they're up there with their family and they're up there with their new swag from their football team. But here it's no, you're getting accepted to a college, to a university, you get to pick which university. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, so I love this program. And I do have to give a shout out to my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, Inc. The program, the Achievers program, is part of the Guide Right initiatives. I'm the Guide Right director for our local Wilmington alumni chapter.
Okay.
And I was so glad when we decided to launch this program here in Wilmington, because Wilmington has a tremendous amount of great athletes. Right.
Yes.
We have wonderful athletes, and athletes are used to having these college signing days where they have a presser and announce this is the university I'm going to. But we have young men who are just there you go. And we have so many young men though who are academic scholars, who are first generation students or going on full rides. And those stories need to be told too. Those need to be celebrated. Going to school on your academic merit alone is something that's worth celebrating.
Yes.
So this was an opportunity to celebrate those young men for making that step and really giving it the proper platform that it needs. So we do issue a press release. We do invite all press to come out and be there and create an excitement in the room. We invite local elected officials. The mayor has been very supportive of this initiative over the years, to come and recognize these young people, to make them understand that this is a significant thing that you're doing, and we acknowledge you for going on that journey, and we're going to back you up when you need that support. So we have a full day, full program in which we do that and try and make it as exciting as possible.
And how important is it for these young men, African American men, Latino men, to be mentored by someone who looks like them? Like I remember when I got accepted to Morgan State University, it was a no doubter I was going to go there, and people were like, "Why? You can go to UD, you can go to Del State, have a full ride." And I said, "You know what? I really want to attend a university with people who look like me and who are actually of excellence too." And then on top of that, you have the opportunity to network and succeed with all, like you said, people of your fraternity, sorority, or others who are alumni from your university. But the most important part for me was to see people of the same color or ethnicity who are actually excelling within your community. So how important do you feel that plays a role to these young African American and Latino men?
You cannot deny how important it is to be able to look at success and see that success looks like you, right? So that you can then believe that the success you see is one that you can achieve. It's not up for debate. It's a real thing. And our young people will measure what opportunities are available for them based on the models that are out there who have accomplished those things. So our young people may say certain career pathways are off limits to them because they've never seen someone who looks like them or who reminds them of people in their community that are doing that. So they self-select themselves out of being a number of things just because they haven't had the introduction and the opportunity to see that particular career or that particular behavior modeled in someone that they can relate to. So it's hugely important. It's hugely important that we, particularly professional men, come back from all persuasions and make themselves available to our young people so that they can then begin to imagine what opportunities may be available for them. I call it demystifying the process.
Okay.
Because one thing I'm okay with, this is the thing that I'm okay with, and I'll tell you what I'm not okay with. I'm okay with making a decision, whether it be a good one or bad one, if you have all the information at your disposal. So many of our young men make bad decisions because they don't have the information at their disposal. If I can put the information in front of you and say, this is available to you, this is not your only option over here. You're not resigned to these couple of things. This is a whole universe of opportunity that you can go after, and then hold your hand and help you walk you through it, not just drop you off at the door and say figure it out.
Right.
Some of us have to do that.
That's right.
But when you do that, it's your job to go back and not have someone else have to figure it out on their own. So I try and open those doors and demystify. If you make a choice, a bad choice, after you've had access to that information, I can live with that. I cannot live with young men out there making bad choices every day because no one has availed themselves to say, here's the other way, here's another way. And that's what drives me, is that you need to have a chance. You need to have an opportunity to see what the alternatives look like. And then from there, if you make a choice, that's on you. But I think that's where we need to be. We have so many young men who don't even know.
Right.
They don't even know what's out there or what they can do or that college is available for them or anything like that.
Right, and I like you, I believe information changes situations. So once
I like
you're
that one. I'm
informed-
gonna borrow that. Okay.
I always say that, like, information changes situations.
I like that.
Because once you know, you can't say you don't know,
That's
and then
right.
once you're aware, you can't like say I've made these choices and steps not knowing what
That's
I
right.
did, because
That's
now
right.
you know. And in regards to exposure, you're also a part of the Ebony Tie Affair Youth Symposium.
Yeah.
And so again, giving back to the youth. But this is also another program that you're involved with that I find a lot of interest with because of the day-long celebration of the men, the people who've served as panelists. I mean, there's so many to list, but when I was looking, I couldn't believe how many people come back and actually give back to these kids.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about this.
So this was a culmination, I think, of a lot of different things happening at the right time. The Ebony Tie Affair is an annual event amongst some of the diverse men across the state, and to celebrate for no other reason than just to celebrate each other and our accomplishments. And in this room, it's a tremendous amount of success. And what the men determined was that although we enjoy each other's company as men, we cannot have this much knowledge and this much information here and not be thinking about our young people and how to dispense that to them. So instead of having the young men, which we did for a couple years, come there, we found it'd probably be better to have a separate event for the young men for a number of different reasons.
Okay.
And that was the genesis of the Ebony Tie Youth Luncheon. It started off as a luncheon, and the first year that this happened, Cleon Cawley was the chair of the Ebony Tie Affair, and he and I had talked about having something for youth. We didn't know what it would look like.
Okay.
But for me, it was very important. I love that.
I like that picture.
It was very important that we do something that engaged all three counties, because so much of my work had been Newcastle County centric. I wanted to do something that engaged the young people in Kent County and engaged the young men in Sussex County as well.
Okay.
And Cleon was all for it. So what we decided to do was we were going to have a day in which we introduced some of these young men to successful men from all different fields in a luncheon format for a one-day experience, for that luncheon experience. And I got to be like a kid in a candy store, because at that point in time in my career, in my life, I had been interacting with a lot of these individuals who I looked up to and respected, who were already plugged into this Ebony Tie event. So I got a chance to ask CEO of his own company, Mr. Bill Allen, Bill, will you sit on this panel? Executive at the time at Bank of America, Tony Allen, Tony, will you be on the panel? I got a chance to ask Joe Bryant, who is the head of the Delaware River and Bay Authority from law enforcement, Doc B, who is a radio personality, Darius Brown, who was a city councilman at the time.
Yeah.
All these different men who I knew in these different sectors to be able to bring together, to be able to present a sort of a whole perspective, different perspectives
Right.
on success for these young men. I remember one young man, said, I never met a black millionaire before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you did today, and those are those type of comments are exactly why we wanted to do this event. So we were able to get buy-in from the different schools. We sent out notices to different schools, and they nominated kids to participate, and we had certain districts volunteer buses to help us be able to get kids, have location pickup points in Kent County and Sussex County so that transportation wasn't an issue.
Okay.
And then the huge step was getting DSU involved, because DSU was a sort of a center point in the state for a location. And they all converged on this location for our first event in 2012. And we've continued to do it annually. And it's grown and grown and grown. And now it's a full day event, because we realized there was so much that we couldn't capture in a couple of hours. Now we have breakout sessions over a full day. And so now it's a symposium, and we can have specific conversations that are very focused, as opposed to a general knowledge of success and success principles. Now we can focus on specific things in one session, another specific topic, and another specific topic. And we also now incorporated a skill. So not only will you get good information, every year we have a skill session. So you walk away with a skill.
Number 2, Jason Taveras, the entrepreneur who is bringing locally sourced healthy foods directly to city residents while offering employment opportunities to at-risk youth. Let's take a look as he shares how he started Wilmington Green Box. your initiative to get the consciousness, the mindset in regards to eating healthier, how did this all start?
Yeah. Well, basically, it started out of acknowledging a void here that exists in Wilmington, particularly central downtown Wilmington area. And in fact, over 65% of Wilmington is categorized as a food desert, which means that people that live in these areas live more than a half a mile away from a grocery store. So we understand access as being an issue. You know, if you live in an area where you don't have access to these things, it's going to be very difficult to incorporate more healthy, items such as fruits and vegetables in your diet. And it amazed me, being born and raised from the Bronx in New York City, that in a central downtown area, we just didn't have access to these things unless you were able to hop in your car and drive over the bridge more than a half a mile away. So it really just started out of just acknowledging that problem. And then myself and my business partner, John Naughton, saying, what can we do about it? Where do we start? Where does this kind of begin to kind of create a solution for this issue?
Okay, so that's how the Wilmington Green Box came about. You saw the need for making sure that inner city youth and just your working individual here in the city has access to nutrition. Yeah,
and we believe that, when solving problems, there's ways that we can solve issues while creating a win-win scenario. And Wilmington Green Box was created with that intention. How do we create a solution to this problem, but at the same time help create solutions for other problems that exist? And we did that by training, employing, and educating at-risk teams from local community, and had them run 100% of the daily operation of the project, which teaches them entrepreneurship skills as well as employment skills. So that way they can be able to kind of take these skills and talents that they acquired through this experience and be able to integrate it into their own passion, their own vision. And at the same time, be able to directly provide people with access to different healthy goods, such as cold pressed juices, smoothies, side salads, fruit salads, and fresh fruits and vegetables.
Now, Jason, let's dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't want to say that the city of Wilmington doesn't provide nutritional food, but from your experience, has it been a challenge to really educate inner city youth on the importance of nutrition and the good things to eat, as opposed to buying a $2 soda bottle around the corner?
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
What has your experience been?
It was difficult at first, but I will say this. What I found is that when you do properly educate people on the true benefits of these foods and the benefits that they have, not just on your body, but on your mind and on your life as a whole, it slowly starts to make sense why I need to start incorporating these different foods, into my diet. And it wasn't just children or youth that weren't aware of these foods, because access affects everyone.
That's right.
So, there were adults. I had an instance where we were bringing a cold press juice into a barbershop, and I had an older gentleman, probably roughly in mid-30s, explain to me that it was impossible for carrots to make juice. And whatever I told him, he could not believe that carrots could make juice. And we were selling this this juice that we now sell called Sunrise, which has pineapples, oranges, carrots, and ginger.
It's delicious, by the way.
It is delicious.
My favorite.
And absolutely no additives, no sugars, just fruits and vegetables in it. And he said, this is impossible. There's no way. I left that barbershop, went home, and recorded myself juicing carrots into juice. And went back to the barbershop, and I showed him that. And he was fascinated by this ability to make juices out of vegetables, which he thought had absolutely no water or juice content in it. This is what we were up against, year one, 2016. But again, through creating a safe space where people don't feel intimidated, nor don't they feel lesser than what they are, and slowly kind of educating them, and then having a product that tastes delicious, it has really kind of helped bridge that gap, that education gap.
And information definitely changes situations, and this is one of those incidents.
Yes.
And so take us back to the beginning of the Wilmington Green Box, and then we'll go into where you're located now. But take us to the beginning, because from my understanding, you started with a push cart.
Yes. And what's even more radical than us starting with $450 in a push cart was the fact that this push cart was an old wooden box that we found in a Victorian home that served as an ice box. Back in the day, before there was an abundance of electricity, people would get these highly insulated boxes and they would store their meats in the basement where it was cooler. And we found this box. It was not in so good condition. And we had that vision immediately right then and there to say, what if we put some wheels on here, redecorated it, polished it, revamped it, and turned this into kind of like our means of bringing these different goods directly to people versus them coming to us through a storefront. And that's exactly what happened. We received the first micro grant from BPG for $850, which gave us the funds to be able to totally revamp this box into a cart. And we hired our first teen, Emmanuel, which was 14 at the time. And with this push cart, myself, Emmanuel, and some other volunteers, we went into different areas of the community for the first time, brought these goods to people that had never heard of them because they didn't exist.
That's right. And now you're located right on Market Street.
Yeah. I mean, after our first year, the demand increased dramatically. And what we found was that people, in fact, wanted access to more healthier goods because it didn't quite exist in this area. And, you know, with an increase in demand, we tried to come up with creative ways to fulfill that demand. And one opportunity that we've seen was this dormant, neglected green space right on Market Street, right between 4th and 5th Street. And we came up with this plan to transform that space into an outdoor kiosk, grab and go, as well as an entertainment space. So we created a wooden stage for that way we could do art loops and things like that. And then we incorporated some seating and some free Wi-Fi provided by Wi-Fi. And to date we have this awesome kind of pocket park space that sells our delicious cold pressed juices. We're gonna get ready to start incorporating some fresh fruits and vegetables, as well as free Wi-Fi, and people are really enjoying it.
And it's a beautiful space. I mean, I went for the first time.
Yes.
And I got to sit down, take it all in. You get a nice view of the sky. And it's like, you know, for those who are not even into meditation or consciousness, mindfulness, you can still get something out of that.
Yes.
And being able to just provide that to us here in the city.
Yeah, and I think we need balance. You know, I think the city of Wilmington is known for its corporate engine. And at the same time, in order to keep that engine going, we need to make sure that we're incorporating more time, you know, for ourselves. And in the park, the pocket park is exactly that. You know, people just come and kind of just hang out. We have this really cool kind of rocker chair that you can kind of lay up in.
That's my favorite.
Yes, you can kind of lay up in the sun with a cold pressed juice and still be able to do some work, you know, from your laptop because we have that free Wi-Fi.
That's right.
So it has those different elements that we kept in mind to kind of make it that much more suitable for this area.
And the fact that you refurbished the area, you kind of put your own little touch to it.
Yes.
That blew me away.
Yes.
There's like a little painting up there. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Is it like an icon, or is it to resemble one of the youth that actually is employed by you?
Yeah, so one of the things that we tried to do when we created this outdoor kiosk space was partner with as many different local community organizations, artists, and entrepreneurs as possible. Okay. And for this project, we reached out to Smash Label, who has a history of doing multiple murals across the city of Wilmington. And we explained the vision to him, and that same day, he went out, got everything he needed, brought a scaffolding so that way he can, you know, reach the height to be able to do the mural. And on the spot, spray paint the wall, just kind of brought the vision to life. And the characters really represent, you know, not just the youth, but the youthful energy, you know, that we bring, you know, through our brand and through our market focus, which is really just kind of creating more bridges and spaces and opportunities to bring people together. And we know food to be one of the most important things that can kind of help bring people together and congregate people amongst different diversity, different ethnic groups, different backgrounds.
Right.
And we see that happening all the time in there. So those characters truly kind of reflect and try to showcase that ability, that energy.
And it's a nonprofit organization.
Yes,
Let's not forget that.
501c3, absolutely.
501c3 certified.
Yes.
And you're really about the community. This nonprofit organization, like you said, is a win-win organization. Can you touch a little bit about that? Because I really want to emphasize, not only are you teaching these inner city youth about entrepreneurship, but you're also purchasing these goods from local businesses. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, for us, you know, we don't consider ourselves to be separate from the community. You know, we live in this community that we're simultaneously serving and helping. So we're not separate from the problems. You know, these problems affect us first. So when we look at trying to create solutions, we try to understand the dynamics of that area, of that community, and how many more ways we can incorporate and kind of bring people with us. And I think that's important because I think the city of Wilmington needs more public and private partnerships, because these opportunities aren't always seeked out from the people on the grassroots level.
That's right.
And you know, it's our job as people on the grassroots, when we get opportunities to kind of bring along these local partners, to kind of give them the platform to also showcase their things, because when we're in the community, we see what's happening. And we see how many great artists, creatives, and entrepreneurs are emerging. But the people with the finances and the people in power sometimes don't. So it was our goal to kind of set the intent with bringing these people kind of along with us. When we first launched that kiosk space, we partnered with NextFab, who had just arrived on the scene to Wilmington, Delaware. And we built that 800-pound wooden kiosk that you see on Market Street at NextFab with our own hands. So we took into account, you know, that there's this great resource right in our backyard. Like, why pay all this extra money when we can use that platform that they have as a resource, and at the same time kind of get that experience of building something up for the ground up. So that way our kids that work for us could take that much pride in it, because they know they were a part of that building process.
And you said something that really resonated with me in regards to being in the middle of it all. Such a cliche, right?
Yeah.
But you're in the middle of everything that's going on within the city, and you're exposing these kids to something that is very possible for them. Because let's face it, we all go to college to get a degree, right?
Yep.
But very few of us go to college to learn about entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Some people look at it as a gimmick, and it's like, you won't be able to make money out of that. Whether it's being an author, starting your own business, that is the harder route, so don't go that way. Kids, let's steer you this way. Focus on something. Let's get your degree in this concentration, and that's where you go. And then it's not until after you leave college where you're like, wait a second, I don't want to work for anybody anymore. I want to work for myself. And then you're kind of just stuck. And you got to look for like nonprofit organizations that hold free workshops. But here at Wilmington Green Box, you're like, no, you don't need to go there. Here you have an entrepreneur. We haven't even talked about your other business ventures, but you're providing these students for that, with that opportunity. And that to me speaks volumes, Jason. It really does.
And it's real all-hands experience. You know, I train them, I educate them, everything from product knowledge to customer service to developing and branding and selling a product. But these kids learn from direct experience. You know, after we train them, we put them right onto the field. You know, Emmanuel was our first employee, you know, and at 14, making on an average, you know, $225 a week, making a minimum of $9 an hour. This was a real job for Emmanuel. And his first year was tough, you know, getting behind a product and selling it in front of people that may not even, you know, look like him, talk like him, act like him, dress like him, can be quite intimidating, you know, but with our support and our guidance, he became the poster child of Wilmington Green Box, like overnight. You know, people paid me no mind, and they would go right to Emmanuel because he's extremely charismatic, and through kind of building that confidence through experience, you can tell that he felt connected with the brand, you know, and that was because we learned his family. You know, we talked to his mom, we talked to his dad. After working, I drop him off at his grandparents' house. And it's important that he becomes, you know, an ambassador of his own, because when he goes back into the community, now he becomes kind of like a role model for other youth that live in these neighborhoods to kind of strive to do something differently with themselves.
I like that, Jason. You definitely don't get that working for someone else in this type of environment. The fact that you reached out to his family and got to know them, that speaks volumes. I mean, let's face it, you don't get that in the working world. So that kind of push really will take him a long way. So let's talk about partnerships.
Yes.
I know you did something recently with Capital One. That's major.
Yes. That is major. You know, as you know, a nonprofit needs funding, to survive. And, we built Greenbox with this model that could create a more sustainable approach. Having a product really helps. And Capital One has really stepped up to a plate. And, when funders really weren't kind of believing in us because we weren't yet kind of widely available.
Or established.
Yeah, or established. Capital One really gave us a chance, giving us our first grant. And now we're launching our first ever crowdfunding campaign on July 30th. And Capital One has initiated a challenge where every dollar that you donate, Capital One will match up to $15,000.
That's awesome.
So if we could raise $15,000 on our own, Capital One would match that with an additional $15,000. And that's huge. We still consider ourselves the little guys, in the city. So partnerships like that, partnerships like NextFab, those really help. We just met with Highmark. They're looking to really help us out too as well. So we're reaching out to just about everyone and anyone at this time to get some help.
And how does that work? Do you have a support team? I know there's 2 other guys that are with you at Wilmington Greenbox.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave them out. So let's talk a little bit about how important it is to have a strong foundation.
Absolutely important. As a nonprofit, we have a board. We have a very active board. We have a treasurer. We have a grant person. And that helps with the behind the scenes. But, John Naughton has a background of really being hands-on. And I'm not a hands-on person. I'm a people person. I mean, when it came time to building that kiosk, I had to get dirty. But I'm the people person. I'm the talker. John, you won't see him, too much kind of like in the mix because he doesn't talk. But when it comes to building and designing and really being part of the operation, he takes full lead in that. And we understand our strengths and our weaknesses. So as a team, we work together. James Thompson, for an example, he owns his and works for his own CAD company. And he helps out with a lot of the designing and the creative process of kind of coming up with these concepts. So us kind of working together creates this dynamic that just works because we have these different elements that don't overlap each other and really help kind of everything kind of push forward. So yeah.
And I do honestly believe, like, for a nonprofit to be so successful, especially in the beginning, you have to know your brand, breathe your brand, eat, sleep your brand. So do these inner city youth that are actually involved and employed by you, do they actually drink these juices? So they're able to really like articulate this is what you're intaking into your body? And
for real. Like, I mean, there will be days where things will be so busy, that we couldn't step away from the cart, to get lunch or to find food. So we ended up drinking those juices. I mean, I'm just going to put it out there. Like, our first year, me and Manuel hit the ground running with that push cart. I mean, at times we were working 6-8 hours straight, just kind of being in the mix, serving and selling. And the first thing that we had access to were those fruit salads, those cold pressed watermelon juices in mason jars. I mean, and that's what kind of fueled us. And what we've seen over time is that our kids now demand that they have more access to fresh fruits and vegetables.
That's right.
They're going home and they're telling their mom, like, hey, could you buy some bananas, just to have on the table so I can grab one kind of on the go. And our juices are good, and they're kids certified. If you look at our news feed on Facebook, on Instagram, you'll see a bunch of children and families, consuming our juices and eating fresh fruits and vegetables because once you kind of put it in front of them and you kind of get them slowly acclimated, they end up really enjoying them.
That's
so it works. Yeah.
And even our former First Lady, Michelle Obama, she really took the initiative to make sure that our kids were exercising and eating healthier as well. So I believe that more and more people are becoming more conscious about their health, especially not only for us getting older, but obesity is so big in America as well. So this is a great opportunity to teach and, like you said, bring the access to people
Yeah.
who probably will never get access to it. And my number one pick of 2018 goes to Frank Burton Jr., Anthony Easterling, and Herb Cunningham. 3 individuals that spoke about the importance of law enforcement and community engagement. Let's take a look back at this important conversation. And now, what was the first community forum like? What it was expected, or what were you able to gain from that?
The first forum was sparked again out of my passion, and it really wasn't well coordinated. I just came up and had a thought about this and gathered a few officers together and had the community there. And it went really well. The dialogue went well, but we wanted to do more. We wanted to interact with the community more. We wanted to have some scenarios. We wanted to discuss some initiatives that the law enforcement officers were willing to do as well, but we wanted the public to be more involved as well. So this time it's going to be bigger, it's going to be better.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's dig into that a little bit. So we have one coming up on Wednesday, August 22nd.
Yes.
And I want to let everyone know that it's not just the Wilmington Police Department, it's also the state of Delaware's Police Department, Newcastle County, and you're going to have Mayor Mike Brzezicki there as well. So how important is it to have all those 3 different departments, police departments together, as well as the mayor to tackle these issues?
It's very important and it's strategic because what the goal is for us to be able to not only touch Newcastle County, but Kent County and Sussex County, to be proactive in having this dialogue between law enforcement and community, but also that it's not just a one-time, a 2-time conversation, to be able to take this initiative tri-state and all across the country.
How do you try to tackle the people who live here in Wilmington and actually kind of like scared to even be around the police for the fear of being called a snitch or trying to give them too much information? I don't want to be associated with you. I don't want no one on the streets to see me with you. So how do you tackle that fear and actually try to bring the people into these forums?
Right. The same way you would do it in any other kind of venue is building rapport. And if you build a rapport, whether you're a pastor, whether you're a law enforcement officer, whether you work for the city, the county, or federal government, and even in the book, I discuss a few cases that I had like that. I understand because I'm from the city. I understand what the no snitching rule is. But if you build a rapport with people and you are somebody that they can trust and you gain their trust, then you're able to break through those barriers and then you're able to, like I said before, we're all saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. I'm just like those guys out in the street. I was those guys. But also as law enforcement, I come home, I'm a dad, I'm a father. I'm not, FBI agent was what I did. It's not who I was. Mm-hmm. So we break down those barriers by building rapport.
And what are some of the needs that you are hearing? So for example, I know one of the topics is going to be a Q&A, and mm-hmm. based on already having one forum, what are some of the things, the topics that you're trying to tackle in these forums?
Just the ability, it's a wide array and a wide range, but just the ability to just listen. To be able to, everybody to come to the table and to be able to air out concerns. Okay. It could be concerns about police brutality. It could be concerned about disrespect from the community, from the law enforcement officer sides of view. But if we're willing to listen, active listening skills is something that I use as a hostage negotiator, where I could bring down a level of just anxiety to whomever I was talking to. If we can come together and sit at the table and have a conversation and really listen to each other about our concerns, then that's what we're going to do. That's the main focus.
And I do want to touch on that, being that you're a retired FBI agent and you're bringing everyone together to sit at the table. What are some of the skill sets or some of the things that you've been trained with in that profession that you've been able to bring over to the community side?
Well, some of the skill sets are, like I said before, the active listening skills are the biggest. As the hostage negotiator, was totally different responsibility than being an FBI agent. As an FBI agent, as a law enforcement officer, you go in, you interrogate, you tell people what to do, and you're not going to do this. But as a negotiator, I have to be able to listen. Mm-hmm. Because if I go in there with that same attitude, it could be somebody holding a gun to somebody's head, and I say the wrong thing and somebody gets killed. But if I can listen to you about your concerns, about your aggravation, well, Yesenia, you sound very aggravated. Well, I'm not aggravated. I didn't say I was aggravated. Well, I could back off of that. I didn't say you were aggravated. I said you sounded aggravated. Mm-hmm. So if I can effectively listen to someone about their concerns, then I know that my voice, not my gun, not my badge, not my taser, my voice is my number one weapon, as it is in the community as well.
And Frank, do you feel like this is actually a benefit to the community? Some may look at this like, oh, you're just wasting your time because there's just too much happening in Wilmington. You're not going to be able to tackle all the different districts here. So why start with this forum?
Right. Great point. So you got to blow past the naysayers. If what you have is passion, if what you have is proven and this is what you've done, then you continue to move on in spite of the naysayers, because there are some who will listen. And those who will listen will take it out and take it into the community and do what it was accomplished to do. I just came back from Compton over in California. And some of the worst areas in the United States, that's where I go to, where people say this kind of thing can't happen, this kind of thing can't work, but it's been proven it does work.
And as we've seen, it's very powerful. You're having all the different departments here in Delaware of the police departments coming together as one voice.
Yes.
That's very unusual in different states. You don't see all the different departments come together, but here, I'm only thinking about New York and all the different boroughs, but here in Delaware you have the state, Newcastle County, and Wilmington Police Department, and that imagery right there alone is very powerful. So is there anything that you would like to touch in regards to making sure that you do represent every single department?
Yeah, that image right there goes back to what I said before. It goes back to rapport. And there with Vaughn Bond, Newcastle County Police, is a great friend of many, many years. Anthony Easterling, which will probably come on in the next segment. I've known him for 36, 37 years. Rich Armour there, Wilmington Police Department, great friend for over 30-something years. Paul Chapman, retired state police officer, I've known him since high school. Captain Sapp, I just met him for Delaware State Police, but Nate McQueen is a good friend of many years. And there, right there, Jeffrey Covington is one of my co-workers with the FBI. He's retired since, and Brother Andrew right there is a part of our church. So just to be able to have the rapport to say, listen, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what we want to seek to accomplish. Can you guys come in and all of them willingly, not even a question, all of them willingly.
And I think it's definitely a great time to do this, because as we all know, we did have the police officer who was at Wawa and ended up getting shot by a person who lives here in the community. So that in itself made national news, and it's kind of like, wow, we used to be able to live here in Delaware and not have to think about these things.
Yes.
You might have your small crimes here and there, but now a police officer getting shot, it's kind of like changed the whole momentum here in regards to crime. It's looked at in both ways, because you also have people complaining about police brutality. So tackling those different issues and just trying to bring law enforcement officials and people who live in the community that they're here to protect and serve and bring them all together, I think this is the perfect time for that. Do you agree?
I do agree with Trooper Ballard. That was a wake-up call for us, because we see that kind of thing in the news and media, but now that hits home. So we talk about those instances and we talk about those subjects and those officers, but also the forum is, what about the incident that just happened up in Massachusetts last week with a young black female who was an RA, and somebody called the campus security on her because she was just laying around on campus. The goal here is to have that conversation. What do we train about? We train for everything else. We train for incidences in concerts, in post offices, in all other areas. Why not train for this? What do you do if somebody comes up to you and maybe it's a campus officer and they're not speaking to you in a relatively nice term, and it's kind of intimidating? Your voice can change that whole situation. What you say can change that whole situation. So again, the emphasis, we train on everything else. Let's be aware, and let's train on all these incidences, because I don't want to see another critical incident happen where there's a loss of life or an embarrassment. Let's talk about it now while everybody's calm, and nobody's losing their temper, to be able to deal with those things.
And that leads me to my next question in regards to community outreach initiatives. Do you have anything else that you're doing in regards to, like you said, the training or the other things that you're doing to try to help the community understand the value and your mindset?
Yes, with the community outreach initiatives, with the Newcastle County Police, the state police, and the Wilmington Police Department, as recently as yesterday, they're all over. They're going out to the community and just engaging, showing the community what they do. They bring out the police dogs. Cops are playing basketball with each other. So that's very important.
Yes.
Because that little boy or little girl who is inundated with cops are bad now sees you from a different aspect. So that's it. For myself, I go out and for the community, I've gone all across the country teaching active shooter. I go out and I teach church security training, and it's a whole different aspect because some people, we don't need security in church, but you'd be surprised the numbers of incidences. So the outreach is where these officers are offering their services to come to your churches, to come to your community centers afterwards and just engage. Bring out the horses, bring out the helicopter, bring out the dogs, and that changes the perspective of the community instead of just seeing officers when bad things happen.
Could you share with us in regards to any initiatives that Police Chief has in regards to how the police officers here in Wilmington engages with the community?
Yes, Chief Robert Tracy, he's very much engaged into the community. As he's been a professional police officer for many years, well over, and he has come in contact with just about every community leader in the city and county, and every grassroots person that's in the city and county as well. And he wants us to interject the community policing concept back into the community where we feel that it was lost at certain points.
And how is that happening? Like, what does that look like?
It looks like getting out of the car.
That's
okay,
right.
which I love to do, and walk around, engage people, come up to people, talk to them, extend your right hand of fellowship to a person. Right. Normally they would shake your hand, some of them won't, but then they'll explain to you why, and then you explain to them that, you know, this is not back in the day, this is right now. You know, so I'm going to engage with you. You know, it's the smile that has to come first when you approach a person, and that's what I've learned from childhood growing up in Baltimore to where I am today.
That's right. You brought all your experiences from Baltimore to
Wilmington.
Yes. But you're a resident of Wilmington.
Yes, I am a proud resident, city resident for almost 30 years now.
I was going to say, because you're a vet too on the force.
Yes.
How many years have you put in with the Wilmington Police Department?
I am approaching 23 years at Wilmington Police.
That's wonderful. And so, how important it is to engage with the community? One thing I learned when we did a ride along with you, I was able to sit in the back of the car, and one thing I said, I remember vividly opening up the door. I said, Master Corporal Anthony, how many people do you lock up a day in this back seat that I'm about to enter? And your response hit me so hard when you were like, that's not our goal.
Right.
That's not our idea. That's
right.
not what we do here. That really touched me. And then as we did the ride along with you, I began to see how you truly know these residents. Yes. It's not about a fake conversation. You know their livelihoods, you know their children, you know where they work, you know their family, how many relatives have been locked up. Share a little bit about that with us.
Well, first of all, I come from a large family. I'm the youngest of 7. And growing up in Baltimore, my family extended to Wilmington, Delaware. So we were always taught to get to know people. That was a big concept with my mother. And she was, the village concept, it's old, but it still works.
It does.
It still works. You get to know the people you serve. And I've learned that from other officers from Wilmington Police, such as retired Chief Bobby Cummins, Chief Tracy, Captain Akil, Lieutenant Counts, Captain Wilfredo Campos, Lieutenant Andy Janvier, people of all different mixes and colors coming together and engaging themselves into the community.
It has been an absolute pleasure to host In Focus this year. The show has grown from a once-a-month 30-minute talk show to a twice-a-month 1-hour talk show. The show is made possible by the efforts and work put in by other WITN 22 staff as well, including Paul Kennard, Paul Colsey, Saquon Stimson, Wendell Ralston, Kyle Bressler, and India Williams. On behalf of myself and the entire staff here at WITN 22, thank you so much for watching each episode and for sharing it on WITN 22 social media platforms. We look forward to highlighting more individuals and organizations in 2019. But for now, enjoy the holidays and celebrate the significant growth and impact you've made this year. Happy holidays and Happy New Year's, Wilmington. I'm your host, Yesenia Taveras. See you next year.